Let's get to these attacks on you. There are a lot in the mainstream media saying that you had meetings in Ukraine with the prosecutor. What do you say about this?
Well, I've been used to this for the last 3 years. The House Intelligence Committee Republicans, we continue to expose Democrat corruption over and over again. And what always happens is right when we expose them, what do? They go out to kill the messenger. So this week, another fake news story. The problem with this week's fake news story is we actually caught them. And we caught them badly, and it also involves criminal activity. And so what we're going to do, I gave a statement out on Friday night, we are going to take both CNN and the Daily Beast likely into federal court right after Thanksgiving. And we hope they cooperate because we're also going to be working with the appropriate law enforcement authorities because it is not okay to work with someone who has been indicted on serious federal crime to build a media narrative and dirty up a member of Congress.
Congressman, this is a story which comes from Lev Parnas, who of course, as you know, is an former associate of Rudy Giuliani, who says that you met with the prosecutor Shokin in Vienna. Bottom line, were you in Vienna with Shokin?
Yeah, so look, Maria, I really want to answer all of these questions, and I promise you I absolutely will come back on the show and answer these questions. But because there is criminal activity here, we're working with the appropriate law enforcement agencies. We're going to file all this. Everyone's going to know the truth. Everybody's going to know all the facts. But I think you can understand that I can't compete by trying to debate this out with the public media right. When 90% of the media are totally corrupt. And because this is criminal in nature, and because it's so bad, it's so slanderous, we've got all the facts on our side, and we're going to file in federal court.
You're saying you're suing CNN, you're going to sue Daily Beast. I know you've sued Twitter in the past. Do you think this is going somewhere? You're telling me that CNN committed criminal activity.
Well, it's very likely, or they're an accessory to it, right? So none of this is true. It's what I've said. My statement is it's demonstrably false. We'll get to all the facts when it's filed in court. So, but somehow, they're either witting or unwitting of listening to somebody who's been indicted. And not only that, but it's their lawyers. So you're talking about third and fourth hand hearsay to do what? To dirty up the leader of the Republicans on the Intelligence Committee that just destroyed their complete narrative that right. They've been pushing, this new Ukraine hoax they've been pushing for the last 2 months.
Yep.
I think the American people see through it. And look, the sad part is I'm the last guy that wants to go into the courts, but the media has become totally corrupt, that now they're willing to actually engage and help with criminals, indicted criminals. Mm-hmm. These people are sick, and the only way they're going to be held accountable is through the court system. And it's the only chance I have to actually get the facts out for the American people because they can't lie to a court.
Because nothing quite says I'm innocent like being unable to answer the simple question, were you in Vienna with Shokin? This is the top Republican on the House Intelligence Committee, Devin Nunes, who contends that CNN and the Daily Beast aren't allowed to publish a story wherein now indicted Giuliani associate Lev Parnas claims that Nunes was in Vienna last year to speak to the corrupt Ukrainian prosecutor Viktor Shokin to discuss digging up dirt on Biden, at the same time that he's refusing to simply say whether or not it's true. Now, he leans on the fact that he's bringing them to court as an excuse for his refusal to respond, but the existence of a lawsuit wouldn't preclude Nunes from simply answering yes or no whether he was in Vienna to meet about digging up dirt on Biden. This is like Trump saying he can't release his tax returns because they're under audit, despite absolutely being allowed to release his tax returns even if they're under audit. The point is that hiding behind a BS excuse only makes you look more guilty. But beyond Nunes making himself look bad, his insistence on suing everyone and anyone who dares cross his path is intended for one thing: to have a chilling effect on critics. Nunes is hell-bent on scaring those who speak out against him by casually lobbing lawsuits everywhere he can. He even says, "I'm the last guy who wants to go into the courts but I don't know of any congressman who levels more lawsuits than Devin Nunes. I mean, the guy is suing a fictional cow on Twitter, as well as other parody accounts, for supposedly defaming him and hurting his reputation. A fictional cow. This might be a good time to mention that Devin Nunes is a co-sponsor of a piece of legislation called HR 1179, or the Discouraging Frivolous Lawsuits Act. Again, the co-sponsor of that bill is currently suing a fictional Twitter cow. But Nunes' victimhood complex has always been blatantly clear. In this very interview, he tries to justify his own righteous indignation by claiming that the left has been out to get him because he, quote, just destroyed their complete narrative they've been pushing about Ukraine, which is a generous assessment of what happened at the impeachment hearings, considering essentially every single one of the nonpartisan, lifelong government officials who testified said that Trump withheld military aid to Ukraine in an attempt to extort them for a public announcement of a probe into Joe Biden. Fiona Hill told him that his defense that the DNC server was hiding out in Ukraine and Giuliani's entire premise for seeking investigations was outright false.
Based on questions and statements I've heard, some of you on this committee appear to believe that Russia and its security services did not conduct a campaign against our country, and that perhaps, somehow, for some reason, Ukraine did. This is a fictional narrative that has been perpetrated and propagated by the Russian security services themselves. The unfortunate truth is that Russia was the foreign power that systematically attacked our democratic institutions in 2016. This is the public conclusion of our intelligence agencies, confirmed in bipartisan congressional reports. It is beyond dispute.
Gordon Sondland testified that there was a quid pro quo.
I know that members of this committee frequently frame these complicated issues in the form of a simple question. Was there a quid pro quo? As I testified previously, with regard to the requested White House call and the White House meeting, the answer is yes.
Bill Taylor said withholding aid for a personal favor was crazy.
And finally, as the committee is aware, I wrote that withholding security assistance in exchange for help with a domestic political campaign in the United States would be crazy. I believed that then, and I believe it now.
So if Nunes really thinks that he destroyed the Democrats' narrative of what actually happened with regard to Ukraine, then he has somehow managed to convey himself as even more deluded than when he was only suing a fictional cow on Twitter. But the fact is, if it is true that the ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee did in fact meet with Shokin in Vienna, the conflict of interest here would be beyond massive. What you would have is the person in charge of the investigation of the Trump administration getting Ukraine to dig up dirt on Biden on the Republican side, who is himself implicated in that same investigation. I get that the fox guarding the henhouse has become a central theme of this administration, but this would amount to nothing less than a concerted effort at the highest levels of our government to cover up high crimes and misdemeanors on behalf of the President of the United States.